Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me, and I know what you're thinking. Junebug, girl, that's a lot of makeup. And you're right. I'm practicing my makeup for Comic-Con this coming week, so I didn't put all of it on because I have to draw scars all over my face, like lines, golden scar lines. So I didn't do that for the video, but I'm like, well, how about I do like the basic stuff, like kill two birds with one stone, because normally I do put on some makeup for y'all in these videos, but today's just a bit extra because it's just going a bit extra for Comic-Con. Anyway, enough about my face. Today we are talking about someone who's intrigued me for a while and who I stumbled upon again when I was doing research for a different true crime, and that is the Lady of the Dunes. When I was doing research for the Lady of the Dunes. So I debated putting this under like badass lady, but it should truly be a true crime because there is crime involved. This lady fascinates me. I don't want to be this lady, but she just fascinates me a little bit. Just a smidge. But today we are talking about Rory Jean Kesinger. Now this takes place in the early 1970s, and she's about 24, 25 when this stuff happens. And it takes place, the main event takes place in Massachusetts, mainly. We'll see that it involves just the US in general, but we'll get there. And the status, who knows? Solved, unsolved? No one really knows. Someone might, but I am not that person. And it appears neither is the authorities. Anyway, Rory Jean Kesinger was born in 1948 or 1949. Her date of birth isn't known, at least like the public. I'm sure her parents know, but nor are her parents' names known from what I could tell. And if they are known, I've seen like some people say that's not actually their real names. So there's just not much known. There is slim to none about her childhood. As you could probably guess based on the fact we don't know what her birthday is. The only thing known for certain about Rory is before she was 15, she, quote, got in with the wrong crowd. Like, got involved with the wrong crowd, end quote. And she started a life of crime, so to speak. Now, due to this, she would run away at the age of 15, and her parents, unfortunately, would never see her again, that we're aware of. I was thinking when I was doing research when I read that, I was like, did she pull a Walter White situation Breaking Bad, where they think they haven't seen him, but in reality he goes and visits Skylar and the baby. Hopefully you've seen Breaking Bad to get that reference. So from what we know, her parents never saw her again. Now with her life of crime, she started like with petty theft, as I feel like that seems to be the typical teenage way to get into a life of crime. But her life of crime would obviously get a bit more intense and would not just involve theft. She would do gun and drug smuggling later in life, and she would also do bank robberies and was even known to pull out weapons on officers. So, kind of escalated. I do want to note there's no known instance of her killing anyone. I mean, I don't know if I'd put it past Rory, but there's no known, like, she wasn't, like, wanted for murder or anything. Now, up until she was about 24, Rory never got caught or really faced any consequences for this. Like, legal consequences. Because remember, she ran away at 15. So it's almost 10 years she's just getting away with whatever. Now, at this point in her life, she's 24. She has committed crimes in numerous states. She's, like, wanted across the country. That's what I mentioned, like, this main thing we're talking about does take place in Massachusetts, but she's done many things in other states. So take that for what you will. Now, her luck, I guess if you want to call it, would appear to run out in January of 1973 when Pembroke police went to a house to deliver, it was like a traffic violation or a ticket. And once they arrived, tons of people fled out of the back of the house, not realizing the cops were coming. And Rory was one of those people who was fleeing when the cops showed up. And when the police realized that a ton of people are like getting the heck out of here, they're thinking it was probably like a drug situation, they started taking after, like the police started taking chase. And now, due to Rory, for some reason, being only in lingerie at the time and barefoot, she would trip when she's running, and she was caught. Now, due to her being in the state she was, like disheveled, just in lingerie, no shoes, not usually what you'd see when you're chasing down a criminal usually, she was able to convince the officer who like tackled her or who captured her that she was actually being held against her will at this like house, and that she was like drugged and raped. And due to the way she was dressed, and she apparently was a pretty good actor, the officer believed her. So he, instead of like putting her in handcuffs and putting her in the back of the cop car, he led her back to the house, like, you know, get her some normal clothes and question her and try to figure out like what's the situation. But on the way back to the house, like, or when they just got to this house, Rory turned on the cop and tried to take his gun. So, not a damsel in distress. Now, she failed, but she was able to like turn off the lights and run to a different part of the house. And when the cop caught up to her, she had a different gun she was now pointing at him. I did see in like an article that it's debated, like she failed to get the gun away from him the first time, but then she turned off the lights and then was able to get his gun and hold it to him. So I don't know if it's two separate guns or if it's just the officer's one gun. But either way, she failed the first attempt, and it was now being pointed at the officer. Now, the officer was able to like tackle her before she could shoot him, thankfully. So they obviously handcuff her this time and like put her in the back of the police car, and they actually end up taking her to the hospital due to, again, the state she was in. But at the hospital, because Rory's Rory, she ended up stealing another cop's gun, and she also tried to shoot him with it. She was stopped again, thankfully, but she tried again. I do also want to point out so that when she got to the hospital, she tried blaming the previous cop, saying he actually assaulted her. And obviously they didn't believe this in the end, but I think they were a bit iffy, again, considering she was barely, her lingerie was ripped in the kerfuffle at the house with the cop, so she was pretty much naked when they got her, and she's dirty, no shoes, no nothing. So they were a bit skeptical, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, they did not believe her, especially after she tried to steal another cop's gun. Now, after this, they made sure she was officially arrested. She's in jail. At this point, she was charged with 2 counts of assault with intent to murder. And obviously, she has her other crimes that have now obviously caught up with her. It's not just the 2 counts of assault with intent to murder. And she was sent to Plymouth County Jail, which is in Massachusetts. Now, Rory was there about 4 months before her scheduled trial. But this trial, she would never go, because in the night on May 26 of 1973, Rory would escape. She would escape jail. She used a hacksaw that someone smuggled in for her. It's debated it was a prison guard that she like seduced or something, or we don't know how exactly she got the hacksaw, but someone smuggled her in a hacksaw. So she used the hacksaw and she hacked the window bars in the laundry room until they were like wide enough for her to wiggle through. And she would take all the like bed sheets in the laundry room, tie them together, and make a rope. Very movie-esque, but that is legit what she did. And she lowered herself down, and she had a getaway car waiting for her. She hopped in and she was gone. And she has never been seen again. Since 1973, no one has seen or spotted Rory. Isn't that insane? This is why this lady fascinates me a little bit. Because, like, there's been instances of people getting, obviously, escaping prison and jail. But most of the time, we hear about them getting caught again. Not Rory. She full on escaped. Now, it was about a year later, I think, one of her former accomplices was arrested and interrogated. And this accomplice said she's pushing up daisies now. So they think she may have been killed to like by her former accomplices to cover their tracks. But again, there's literally no proof that this happened. And again, I don't know if I'd 100% trust the word of a criminal. Like, at least the people she was running with. She obviously lied about like her assaults to try to get away with things she was doing. Like, we have instances where she lied to try to get away from the cops. So either someone 100% has gotten away with her murder thus far since 1973, or she legit escaped and like started a new life. We do not know. There's no proof that she has been killed, minus that one dude saying she's pushing up daisies. And again, that's like all they got. Like, it could be true. But even if that is true, someone's gotten away with her murder. So the fact that she's never been seen again and there's nothing. There's literally nothing. But she hasn't been like forgotten, obviously, because when I mentioned the lady at the dunes at the beginning of the episode, in the 1980s, she was actually maybe thought to be the lady of the dunes, which I mentioned obviously in that video. DNA was actually given from one of Rory's family members to see if the lady of the dunes was her. And the first test apparently was inconclusive, so not helpful. But the second test done in 2002 proved it wasn't Rory. And we now know, like very recently know, that the Lady of the Dunes was actually Ruth Marie Terry. Which again, I have a video on that if you want to learn more about her. So at this point, Rory has been missing, because again, she could have been offed, but she's been missing for over 51 years and would be in her mid-70s at this point. So very much could still be alive. Now, at the time of her escape, if you happen to know anything, I have a very small audience and this happened 50 years ago, but doesn't hurt to throw it out there. But at the time of her escape, she was in her mid-20s. She's white. She had dark brown hair, blue eyes. She was 5'3" and weighed about 118 pounds. And if you happen to know anything, I doubt it, but if you do happen to know anything, contact the Massachusetts State Police, because she has still not been forgotten, especially by the police. Because apparently in that jail, they still have the busted window intact, like they kept it the way it was from her escape as like a reminder. I assume they have to do something so other people don't just squeeze their way through, but they keep it as like a, not a memento, just a reminder. So that is literally it. There's very much known about Rory before her life of crime. There's not a ton of details about her life of crime, and there hasn't been anything since 1973 about her. So what do you think, I guess? Do you think she was killed by her former accomplices to help cover their butts? Do you think she was killed maybe later after getting in with even a more wrong crowd? Or do you think she's just living her life somewhere? I personally have my personal theory that she was the nasty old lady that used to live below us in our apartment. Don't think that's the case, but I'm like, she never has any visitors, no family, no friends that we know of. She's angry all the time. Mid-70s. Never know. The old lady died, so if that is the case, Rory would be dead. But I know it's probably not true, but part of my mind was like, you never know. That is it today. I hope you enjoyed, I guess. Let me know what you think happened with Rory, because I have no clue. And neither do the police, I guess. So, and I will see you next time with, yeah, it's a true crime. It'll be a shorter one again, I think, unfortunately. Or fortunately, so you don't have to hear me talk that much. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and see you next time. Bye, guys.